Welcome back to Breakfast Central. It's time for us to review the newspaper front pages, and we're not doing it alone. We're joined by a friend of the house, a very knowledgeable gentleman and a great analyst and a great public affairs analyst. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Uade Ahimie, Head Strategy and Public Affairs at Nairametrics.
Good morning, everyone.
We're happy to
Good morning, Joe.
It's a pleasure.
Good morning to you. Good morning, Olive. I didn't see you on there for
so
the last
many
2-3
things
days.
happen.
My village people were after me, but
So many things have happened since the last time you were here. And that's how the news cycle works. You know, every day is different. But let's start with our leadership, with the leadership newspapers. Let's see what the headlines are saying. Inflation drops to 22.22% despite high food prices. So new statistics from the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics. That looks like good news. We'll further x-ray it during the course of front pages review. Kano probes death of 2 students in Bichi School. Federal Executive Council holds Buhari tribute session today. Obasanjo and Yakubu Babame divided over 1999 Constitution. Makinde APC George react as another heavyweight, Alhaji Abubakar Atiku, has left the PDP yet again. And the writer says, crisis drove me out of PDP. It won't be me, says the Oyo governor. Ex-VP left to pursue personal interests, says Chief Body George. Is a political wanderer. The APC has reacted to that. Misconduct, 151 senior police officers face sanctions. And 1 month after, 107 survivors of Benue attack still in hospitals. But I want you to react to the inflation dropping to 22.22%. If you speak to ordinary Nigerians, quite a number of them will tell you, you know, they can't feel the impact of this inflation dropping beyond the pump price of petrol, which went up during that Iran and Israel conflagration.
The pump price of petrol has remained higher than when it first went up. We agree with that? Okay, so it's just been swinging between 800 and 950, thereabout, or 800 and 1,000. But, you know, while you were saying that, I remember that our platform did put up an article yesterday that says that dry onions are up 30% and pepper up 16.67% in Lagos. So when you start to tell me that inflation is dropping, I start to wonder, yes, they've done some rebasing of the items of the GDP, but what in my own opinion, as an analyst and as someone with a background in finance, what I think you should do is show us side by side the new rebasing formula and what the existing one is for at least the last 6 months, which should at least give people some comparative knowledge about what has happened and how you determine that inflation has dropped from over 30% by almost 10-11% in 6 months. And prices of food still haven't come down. Prices of petrol, yes, that one is also influenced by the international market and the exchange rate, which has been relatively stable at about 1.6. However, these days I'm scared of looking at that data. Why? Because when you start to punch the holes that you think you would see, then everybody will say, oh, you are not, I know these days, once you say something, it's like,
you are
not patriotic.
Yes.
I love Nigeria with all my heart. Like I always say, what I am today is Nigeria. So, but the fact remains that I don't think in the reality of the everyday man that inflation has dropped that much. Some people believe that it's even gone up, with also when you consider the fact that more people were thrown into bottom line poverty over the last 2 years, about 10 million from the estimates that have been provided. So you moved from about 133 to about 143 or 145, which really, it's even more difficult for the everyday man to get to get money. those who work, who earn money on a daily basis, not to talk about those who earn salaries at the end of the month, who, by the time the salaries are coming, it probably won't take you out of the house, not talk about the bus stop.
Right. Okay, let's go to another paper. Let's look at the Punch newspaper this morning, and on the front page of the Punch, Buhari's CPC bloc may dump APC. Some CPC chieftains likely to quit, but APC remains unshaken, says Shitu. That is, of course, the Congress for Progressive Change. Shatima Atiku Obi attend Buhari's Fidal in Daura. Insurgency NAF to acquire 49 new fighter jets. 151 top police officers under investigation, says NPA. Fayose whips as court clears ex-governor of 6.9 billion naira fraud. I'm sure that's the story we'll start with. CBN injects $4.1 billion to defend naira as reserves decline. Another story to look at. 2027 Atiku's PDP exit sparks political firestorm. JAM uncovers 9,460 illegal admissions in 20 tertiary institutions. Obasanjo Anyoku push for better leadership, new constitution. Let's start with Fayose. Fayose whips as court clears ex-governor of 6.9 billion naira fraud. He went ahead to eventually celebrate with Amala. We could see a video of him and some site workers, construction workers enjoying a good plate of Amala. The court had said, you know, the court had stated that there wasn't a prima facie case established against him, connecting him to the allegations of fraud. Now, several allegations: collecting money and bypassing the financial authorities, a financial institution, collecting money for his gubernatorial aspirations. But the question is, did the EFCC do a thorough enough job? If you've been investigating a matter since 2018, it's in 2025 we're now finding out that there was no prima facie case established, that they can't link the allegations against him to, even the witnesses that were presented by the EFCC, that they don't have a strong enough case to link him to the commission of those, that crime. Let's get your thoughts on that. Okay,
so my thoughts are very simple, and we've said this a number of times. The EFCC prosecutes alleged criminals on the front pages of the newspaper.
Media trial.
Media trial, thank you for that. So it doesn't beat me, because this is not the first case that has been thrown out. If you spend 7 years to investigate and everything you take to court, the judge just throws it out, it just tells me one thing: you didn't do your homework well. And it's as simple as that. So if the court can determine, then maybe, just maybe, the man is innocent, because you have to be proven you are innocent until proven guilty. You know these things. But in Nigeria, you're already guilty by just mentioning, EFCC invites Lagbaja. Person is
they haven't even gotten into the case. God is saying that for it to even get to defense.
Yes, that's my point. But of course, everybody has labeled you a criminal because the FCC says they are investigating you. We said this a number of times, and I will repeat it again today. Do your investigations, have all your documents before you even announce what is going on. I've seen not only across what do you call them, first world countries, but even in what's it called, the former, I can't remember, the former president of, I can't remember, one of the Asian countries, he went to jail because he had been investigated, and this was like 5-6 years after he had left.
South Korea.
So, aside from South Korea, there's another one. I think it was Malaysia or something. These are examples. Do your investigation. These investigations on fraud, it's not one day. Because you have to be able to, you have to be sure to request that you can have this evidence of this money is moving through bank accounts, whether it's or through cash movements and all. And if a man collects funding for his election, of course his donation towards his election. That's how we read it.
Right. Okay.
So just before you move on, I want to ask him a question on that same issue. So is it an EFCC problem as an organization, or is it the lawyers in EFCC that need to do a better job at prosecution? Because if you look at the system, the system works very well when they go after people that are spraying naira notes. Those guys in charge of that department. Yeah, maybe because
we can see those fiscal evidence. But the truth of it is, when you are investigating frauds, especially as it relates to money laundering, money wiring, kiting, and all, is a lot of work that you need to do. Some of this
Not just the lawyers.
Not just the lawyers. Not just the lawyers, because you have to speak to financial institutions, you have to speak to those who claim that they move these monies around, and so on and so forth. We also saw a former governor in this Nigeria that the EFCC couldn't arrest and went to jail in the UK for some of the same charges that they were being that he was being alleged to have committed. And he was tried, and the documentary evidence was there. The linkages were there. So what exactly are we doing? Let's stop all these continued XYZ stole 10 billion and is on the front page of the news, and we're talking about it today.
And a number of these people, we don't even see their mugshots, whereas these young boys, once you hear that there's an allegation, a potential allegation or suspicion of internet
the ego begin to gain muscle. The CFO, by the way, of the NNPC under Mele Kyari has been invited for questioning over billions of dollars.
When they invite you for questioning, you don't need to take your mugshot, please.
No, he's not talking about the mugshot.
I mean, he's been arrested. They said he's been arrested.
So they've arrested him.
Yes.
That's fine. I hope they have the documents and the evidence that they are going to take to court. Because also, there are laws about how long you can keep people. 72 hours. Are you with me?
Yeah.
And then you have to ask for an extension. Many times the courts will tell you that it can be more than 2 weeks. So for the 48 hours initially, then another maximum 2 weeks. I'm not a lawyer.
I mean, just to highlight as well, this mugshot conversation, there's been public outcry against mugshot and, identification parade. The number of the time what we see is that they put people out there, put their pictures out there when you haven't even tried them. There is no case against them.
You haven't arrested them. You have not even brought out
the evidence. No, they would have arrested them, but they haven't charged them to court.
So you haven't even... Once you're arrested, please, once you're arrested and for an alleged crime, yes, and they have that, they are going to pass the case on to court. There's enough evidence.
So what I'm saying is what is happening as opposed to what should happen. What they do is a number of times you see arrests are being made. People were arrested for fraud. Their pictures are made public, but they should be taken to court first.
Yes, and it's against the Constitution.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is against the Constitution. Even lawyers have spoken against it over and over.
Maybe that's why they stopped that TV program called Crime Fighters, where you see people. Oh, there's still crime fighters.
Oh, wow.
They show people with their DVD or those that stole fertile goats. They hold it.
Please. I want us to talk about finance. I mean, this is your area. CBN injects $4.1 billion to defend Naira as reserves decline. I remember when the policy about the unification of the exchange rate had come up, a number of people were saying that this was putting the cart before the horse, that they should have injected enough dollars into the economy to sustain when the pushbacks the pushback will begin. Do you think that is a great move by the CBN to support the Naira?
Oh, yes. Every CBN defends its currency. And it is important that you do that if you want stability, economic stability, and transaction stability across the economy. And I will never fault the CBN. But what CBN has done over the last 2-3 years, and over the last 2 years, or over the last a year, let me put it a year, is they have systematically brought out policies that would help improve transparency. That I can say. Are you with me? The monetary policies have been apt to a large extent. The fiscal side is what everybody is always asking. How do you complement the fiscal along with the monetary? But yes, if they have to defend a currency, and they have been, and one of the reasons I think the CBN is able to do that now, which is part of their mandate, is because there is better transparency in how the system of foreign currency comes into Nigeria. Like I always say, I won't defend the policy just because the policy is right on paper. But when you implement the policies, and I have seen, and believe me, I have seen, I have monitored, I have heard, and I have spoken to a number of economists, and the CBN has continually tried to bring out policies that would help defend the currency. And yes, they must defend the currency. They must play in the market too. So if CBN doesn't play in the market, who will play in the market? That's it. So yes, I agree that 4.1 reserves must go up and down. The essence is to try and get more avenues of getting foreign exchange into your reserve, which is where the fiscal comes from. If oil production has not gone beyond 1.5 million barrels in the last 10 years, although we hear that it's gone beyond that, Do you understand? Yeah, maybe with more local players coming into the fray now, at least on the online production
downstream,
production facilities, then you would start to see more better managed security, better alignment with community management and all. However, the CBN, that is one of their functions, to ensure that you have stability of the currency. But it's not just to defend it for the sake of defending it, but to make sure that the economy is stable. When this economy was doing yo-yo with foreign exchange, we all knew what happened.
But Ghana's currency, the cedi, is that it's gained a lot. Is one of the best performing currencies in the last 6 months, and that's because of the Reserve Bank of Ghana's
share an article
intervention.
I would share
and IMF is saying that they need to hands off and stop intervening. How do you react to that?
The American government or the European Central Bank pumps money into countries because of just to make the economy stable and price stability, what does the IMF say? They bring out these monies. So what exactly are we talking about?
We're African countries, I guess that's why. So
well, I don't want to say that is it. That's been, for me, that's been discriminatory. But let's play the rules by the rules. IMF says they've given us enough loans. So where do they think that we're going to inject these monies that they've been giving to us? Is it not inside this economy? And who is going to inject it inside the economy? Is it not the CBN? So are they going to not use the money to defend your currency so it to be stable so that you can even get people doing production and get even local currency revenues from there? Please.
Let's move on to the next paper very quickly. Even though there's a story there that I would have loved for us to touch on, insurgency, NAF to acquire 49 new fighter jets. We're starting to see
have they just before you go on, have they supplied the 6 that were bought on that Buhari?
Of course, they said they did.
And then one crashed not too long after.
They said they did, and the Tucano jets.
Yes, the Tucano jets.
And then
supplied all of
jets
them.
prevent the 32 people that were killed in Riyadh? Those sorts of, because when you talk about
they've invested so much on drones and so much, because a lot of the bombings that are carried out these days, it's not the fighter jets. So why do you need 49 fighter jets? Why? To pack them on the Air Force, what's it called?
And are we going to have any...
So are we going to war with another country?
Exactly. That's what I was
Are we going to have
say.
any... Maybe sometimes, I think a security expert will tell you that they have to look inwards on our security architectural system. If it's strengthened...
Use intelligence.
You need to keep strength. Every country strengthens their security system every year. You look at the number you have in comparison to other countries, and then you try to beef up. That's why budgets are being made. But in terms of this one, they say they acquire a new one. Possibly it's to fight insurgency.
Do you know how many doctors 49 jets would pay?
Benga, we had that conversation not too long ago. Let's move on. Let's go to the Guardian. And the Guardian front page there, Obi Atiku defend absence as Lukman flag shift in endorsement. Tinubu showers praises to lead Buhari's tributes at FEC meeting today. Atiku's PDP exit letter aimed at stealing spotlight from Buhari's death, says Festus Kiyamo. Chetima leads Fidel prayers for former president in Daura, and Chinese President Xi sends condolence message to Tinubu. We're going to have your take on the death of the late former President Muhammadu Buhari. Aside that, I'd also like you to touch on but let's start with that one first.
On his death?
Yes.
May his soul rest in peace. A Nigerian who tried to the best of his abilities and capabilities to work for Nigeria, some positive, some negative, which is what life is all about. But long and short, for me, I don't think his almost 10-year stint as the leader of Nigeria was productive enough. I think they were the least productive years of this country in a 65-year history. That's my opinion. I know some people would differ. I know some people will say, oh, war against indiscipline in 1984. When you set systems right, are you with me? And people are penalized when rules are broken, then you don't need to set up a special program. Yes, you can set up the program to educate people. In my own opinion, he did more harm to Nigeria's economy over his two stints as leader of this country. I remember between 1984 and 1985, the Senko's issues, which was huge, where middle-class families practically became non-existent, and people who could afford a carton of milk could only line up and be flogged by you know who, in the name of war against indiscipline, and in the name of simple human beings just trying to get their daily bread.
Where human rights was indeed violated.
And so that's it. Then on the issue of Atiku or Obi not attending, it's their personal prerogative. Let's not play politics with these things. If for one reason or the other they were not available, then they will be there. If they were not invited, let's also remember this, because you know in Nigeria there is this saying, "Mubomuya." Some people will believe that if you don't put me on an invitation list, what am I doing there? Yes, they are leaders in their own right, but sometimes you will be amazed that they are not on the guest list.
But they made it to the third day prayer, so doesn't that
just
count?
Yesterday?
So if they were not invited for the burial, does that mean they would have invited them for the 3-day prayers or the 8-day prayers? They are different things. And let's also remember that the burial of a president, which is a national issue, is a major security issue. You know how many presidents were there? You know how many, ex-presidents were there? You know how many governors were there? Do you know what...
Visiting heads of state.
Exactly. Do you know what it takes? And then you now add to it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but you see, let's find out, were they on the guest list for that burial? If they were not, and let's also remember that it was the federal government of Nigeria, are you with me, that actually handled the burial arrangements of the ex-president. So if they have not been invited, why do Mubomuya? And that's very important. The other thing I really like to touch on briefly as we're talking about this article issue is the issue that the CPC bloc might leave APC. Just just 30 seconds on that. Before Buhari left Nigeria, one of the last people he saw was Abubakar Atiku. Exactly. We don't know what they discussed. So all these articles, like you know.
And then what do you take of Atiku's resignation, which
for the third time,
which came, for the third time leaving. They said third time is a charm, right?
Yeah.
Is that what they say?
Are you taking us to the professional league?
No,
because we have to talk about it. Atiku is
you can't, even there's no club that has signed a player 3 times that has come back to the club 3 times.
No, there's
we are going to the professional.
How do you know?
I have one for you.
How do you know? Please, before you say this thing, do your homework
He
properly.
didn't return to the same club.
3 times. 3 times.
3 times. Twice maybe. You've had coaches who have gone back to their clubs. Lampard, went back to Chelsea 2 times. To manage interim.
Irrespective, if a player is very attractive to clubs for the reasons best known to the clubs, of course they will invite you. And if you meet their transfer fee and you pass the medicals, of course you will join them. And if you go back,
has joined this morning.
Huh?
Chief Dele has joined this morning as well, dropping his resignation letter. We're waiting for Dogora to possibly do the same, and then
maybe a few governors.
we said that the transfer season, by September, October, with this CPC block that we're hearing, that's what we said. Let's see those who will actually, be able to get proper clubs, or those who will get loan. But at the end of the day, it's interesting. It's going to be an interesting next year and a half.
Yeah,
an interesting one indeed. I think still on the front page of The Guardian, it would be very, very, insensitive of us not to talk about the killings in Riom. Plateau urges calm as Riom attack. Death toll rises to 32. Again, this feels like rinse repeats. The Plateau people on the Plateau haven't caught a break.
Well, and we can't stop talking about it, so it can never be a broken record, because lives of Nigerians have been taken, and everybody seems to be playing cat and mouse with it. Once anything happens now, they'll say is communal dispute. What disputing what? I can't remember. What are people who are hungry, who can't go to their farms, who can't get a living? What are they fighting over? Land that they cannot till? Like you said earlier, just before we kicked off, or just at the beginning of the show, we need to recheck our security architecture system. We need to revamp it. You understand? So all this insurgency coming up again, we need to buy 49 new aircrafts, warplanes.
Those are fighter jets.
To fight.
Getting ready.
And the kinds of war we're fighting these days is not your traditional war. It's not. And when countries who understand that wars, Ukraine and Russia are fighting traditional wars. Terrorism is not traditional wars.
Asymmetrical.
Yeah. That's
because the way people is an ideology that people are passing, and people will do anything for that. They don't care. It's not about targets, whether it's soft or hard. Their belief is if you can get that target and it's vulnerable, we will do that. And that's why people will wake up in Europe or in America and carry a gun or carry a knife and start stabbing people on the road, because it's not your traditional warfare.
So how do you prevent that? How do you prevent that?
Is improving on your security architecture and ensuring that when you get tips, you do proper investigations. I'm not a security expert and I don't claim to be one, but there are some simple processes that you must follow. You see, like I always say, I'm a process person. If you don't follow the processes, are you with me? Then the day something happens, you will be held responsible for not just missing one process, because out of 5, you followed 4 and it has worked for you. The day you miss out on that one again, and then of course they'll fire you, because that's why those things happen, and that's what happens with the AFCC.
I want us to, just to touch down on one last take for me on The Guardian. Let's look at the differences that did erupt yesterday between a former president and one who has, from the beginning, from the get-go, has always called for a constitutional reforms. I'm talking about former President Olusegun Obasanjo, and of course the man who has been at the forefront pushing for reforms. I'm talking about Chief, you could call him Ayoko as well. Yesterday, former President had said that during the reforms, I'm sure you know about the Patriots, their meeting, which obviously kicked off yesterday.
This Patriots has been, he was there from Buhari's time.
Yes, and they decided the 2014 confab was not implemented. They have already mentioned to the current president that he might want to take a look at the 2014 confab and see what he could pick out from there. But then again, they've decided to meet this time, and the meeting has generated mixed reactions. One of it is that the former president says that he doesn't think it is the reforms that is the problem. He thinks it is leadership. However, Mr. Ayoko says, no, it is actually the reform that is the problem, because what we're using now was given to us by the military, and it is we have as our 1999 constitution, which he thinks should be abolished and changed. Differences, and here we are again. Where do we stand in the conversation? I don't know what your take is. Is it a leadership crisis?
It's both sides. Are you with me? Leadership has refused to have the political strong will to implement even some of the good things that are in that constitution. But the second part of it, which is what the former Commonwealth Secretary General is alluding to, is the fact that, yes, it was the constitution that was given to us by the military. And I would have to use an example to help explain some of these things. And why do I use that example? If you go to South America, there has been so many countries who went through military-style rule, and they have constitutions that everybody continues to bicker. Oh no, you should change this part, or you should no. Chile. I think one of the most successful economies in the world today, and the most successful economy in South America. We all hear Brazil, 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 but Chile doesn't ring its bell, you know, like
loud as
people. But I have shared experiences from people I know. That constitution was rewritten because the youths in Chile, at a point in time, believed that all the constitutional reforms that were being passed did not speak to the things and the issues that were currently going on and what people were looking at issues for the future. So they came down, everybody sat down, they set up a constitutional committee, and they wrote a new constitution that was for the people, by the people, and is going to be acted upon by leaders who have been elected by the people. And in the last 10, 15 years, I haven't heard of magnitude of chaos. And this was a country for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. There were riots on the streets every year, after every election. So what exactly are we talking about? Yes, I do agree that the 1999 Constitution was given to us by the military. And when you look at it, in my own opinion, and maybe constitutional lawyers will differ with me, is many of the things that I see there, are you with me? And if you do implement them, will be successfully implemented, will make a lot of sense. But it still has this tinge of authoritarianism.
You know, I absolutely agree with Uade's analysis. And using the Chilean example, they were under a long dictatorship under Augusto Pinochet. So we can juxtapose. And we are still suffering from a hangover of the military rule, which we inherited, which gave us the 1999 Constitution, until Chile sat and had a people's conference and said, look, we need to read this document. He said it, there were riots.
We have to change every election, whether the man who was voted in was liked or not, it was the same story. You can't continue to use this same thing.
What about the amendments from the National Assembly? Patches here and there.
So that is, I think, what he's driving at might be that it's a flawed document
in itself, in my opinion, it's flawed. Whether it goes, there are some very good parts of it, but we all need to sit down and look at in Nigeria. Where do we want to go? Do we hear even our own children's voices?
I think that's what the confab is trying to. That's what
the idea of the confab is restructuring.
Exactly. Yeah. And restructuring doesn't mean we won't have a national or central kind of governance system. It just means that people want to be heard.
The president had said that there was going to be a youth confab in February. We are in June.
Let me tell you one thing. Let me say something.
Reminds of the statement. What's going on here?
I don't know what's going on, and the truth of it is, everybody says Nigerians are quite docile, yes, and there are reasons, in my own opinion, for that. And what I see is that Nigerians get to a stage where they just get tired, and like they say, when you get to the world, just look for a new place that you can just have peace of mind. It doesn't mean that I am better than the man who is living next to me. It just means that I just want my peace of mind and go about my daily activities. But the one thing I always say, and I will continue to repeat, we must first and foremost be Nigerians. If we are not Nigerians, no matter whether you call youth conference, because when you go there, one of the first things that will happen is state agitation, to the extent that Uade Ahimie's house wants to become a state. Do you understand? Wants to become a state. And so on and so forth. And these are the things that we must look at a system that will work for everybody, give everybody equal opportunities. And like I continue to say, and I'll repeat it as the last thing, there is nowhere in the Constitution, Olive, please ask your legal friends,
you want to go back to
that there is state of origin.
This conversation about constitutional review, we would have it.
It's part of the conversation at the reform.
As a segment.
But it's not in the Constitution.
It's part of the conversation in the reform.
You're not getting it. What's the conversation? Apply even the rules of residency as you have it in this Constitution today. Not everywhere I go, someone will tell me, okay, what's your state of origin? What's your religion? What is your business with where I follow?
I got my SIM. I was able to get my SIM yesterday. It was down. I had to stay for 2 hours. It was down. It would come up, they would rush. To come up, they would rush. So, and then again, I saw a lot of people who got frustrated and left. I stayed.
Right.
And I was asked, what is your state of origin?
I want to quickly wrap up and take a few tweets on YouTube. There's been a bit of an argument. Sayo Eluyera says, our focus now should be removing APC. Chukwuemeka responds saying, should it be just focusing on removing the APC and suffer misrule for another 4 years, like we've been suffering since the removal of Jonathan? He then goes ahead to say, our leaders, both past and present, are not embarrassed at the level of healthcare we have in this country. If they were, our healthcare will not be abysmal. And then he reacts to a package we took during the news when he says, you people, You will retire someday and be addressed as you people. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I know you pointed that out as well.
You people.
We just want to say thank you to those who
Nigerians
keep watching us
more like
virtually and dropping comments and engaging with us on social media. Thank you so much. We appreciate it, and we look forward to continuing this tomorrow. But as we wrap up, I want to give a special shout out to Nkiru Oko, author and one of the most influential Black women in Canada. Thank you so much for being an absolutely amazing friend and sister, and I wish you a wonderful year of celebrations back to back. This is how we draw the curtain today. Thank you for joining us. I am Olive Emodi.
And I'm Benga, and it's not Breakfast Central without a shout out from Olive Emodi.
You know how we do it.
She's a shout out queen.
You know how we do it. No, this one is a very special.
Thanks, Uade, for coming.
I have to shout out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks, guys.